Hey guys, welcome to Couch Potatoes.
Ooh, how many are there?
3.
Oh! Just had to conclude that cliffhanger there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about horror things in the last film. You know what one of my favorite horror movies is? If it's even really horror. It's more of a psychological horror, I guess. The Shining. Have I ever talked about The Shining on here?
No.
I fucking love that film, dude. That's so good.
It's a very, it's a very famous movie.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of people love it.
Very well received.
It's got, is it Jack Nicholson?
Yes, Jack Nicholson.
Yes, yeah.
And that film is a really good example of leaving things unknown, right? Well, that's the thing, right? That's how you write a good horror story, is the fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of them all, right? You know what? I want to be human, that's right. And so, especially at the end of that film, a lot of shit just happens that's unexplained, and many people are trying to interpret it to this day, and that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it scary. It's the fact that it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, it's spooky, man. And that's what's so cool about it. But I mean, The Shining is also an extremely good film in general. It's an incredibly well put together, incredibly well constructed film, incredibly well written film as well. I definitely recommend it if you're interested in some really nice writing. Some good like foreshadowing moments and stuff like that. Acting especially. I think you know the strongest thing is the dialogue.
Yeah.
And the cinematography. But you know, from a writing standpoint, the dialogue.
The Shining is the one that's got the bit where the guy says, "Here's Johnny."
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one.
It's one line, and
one
it makes
line.
no sense without context.
Even then, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah,
But he said it. But that's why it's cool. He just says it. It's like, I don't know why he said it, but it's spooky because he's trying to kill his family with an axe. That film was great because even though I knew basically everything about it before I watched the film, it was still very enjoyable. And it's really cool because like after I watched it, it then like dwelled with me for a couple of days. I kind of milled on it and thought about it, and I liked it more and more as I thought about it. So now I want to watch it again. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a traditional horror film. I don't think it's scary, but then again, that could just be me. This is entirely possible.
What about what's this one? It was a book that you had to read in high school. One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest.
Yes. What about it? It's also Jack Nicholson.
Is that a good movie?
Yeah, it is. It is a good film. It is about a mental hospital.
Yeah.
And Jack Nicholson is the main character. And have you ever read it, seen it?
No.
Well, essentially what happens is I forget who like the main character is.
Isn't it something Holden? Something like that?
Yeah, it's definitely told through the perspective of one character, I think. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. Because there's like a bunch of characters and they're all pretty like interesting. There's like this like neurotic guy who ends up killing himself. Spoilers. There's like there's a really famous one. There's like this tall silent man. And he hasn't said a word for years.
Yeah. And
he just kind of stands around. This is the way to go. Yes.
Maybe he did something bad.
Yeah. Well, he's in a mental hospital, so you know.
Yeah. You don't get put into a mental hospital because he does something bad.
Yeah. So what happens in this mental hospital? They are all kind of just there having a bad time. Fuck. Can't recreate that magic. And they're kind of like having a shitty time because the nurse Ratchet is a bitch.
Yeah.
To put it lightly. And
well, are they awful to her in the mental hospital?
Are they awful to her?
Yeah.
At the end.
Oh.
when they get payback.
So in her typical day, she's just the bad person, and they're fine with her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they're not fine with her. They hate her.
Yeah, but they hate her because she's mean to them. They don't do anything to her just because they're bad.
No.
They're just...
Yeah. Anyway, so Jack Nicholson's character comes in. I forget what his name is. I think it's like Henry. Could be wrong. I could just make that up. I don't know.
Was it a Holden cauliflower?
I don't know. It's I watched it and read it in high school.
Yeah.
So that's what, like 5 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And so he comes in, but he's like super eccentric and interesting, and he's kind of like stirring up trouble in the place. It's trouble as in, you know, he's giving all the mental patients life, essentially, because they're all dead inside until he arrives. Yeah, and I don't know if I should spoil the ending, but it's not exactly happy, but it's interesting. It's just like an idea of like how they control, how people are controlled and how people think, and you know what brings them happiness and what people will do. I don't know. It's an interesting film. What's interesting though is like I remember one of the most distinct things I remember about it. It's a weird thing, but the Nurse Ratched. I mean, it's one of those books that's like everything is very well written and described and stuff like that. Nurse Ratched is described in a very specific way, right? And in the film, there is another nurse that looks exactly like her in the way she's described in the book, but she doesn't play Nurse Ratched.
Oh.
I don't know. It's a weird little detail that I just very distinctly remember because everyone in class, because like after we watched the film, they were like, "What'd you think about it?" It's like everyone was like, "I feel like that lady should have played Nurse Ratched."
Yeah.
I want to be both.
Zora me.
This and this. Which one was Lulu's room again? Just watching the fucking episodes last night when I was going from room to room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's still like a couple more episodes to go.
Yeah, but we're done with the Zora stuff
Yeah.
in the current episodes being uploaded. Spoil friggin' insider information. We're recording this before the fucking last episode, whatever.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to ruin the flow. I wanted to keep the flow.
I don't know. I like the flow, man. I like it.
Go with the flow.
Yes. Lulu's lover.
Green potions.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a gay ass green potion. It's got freaking feces in it. It's got deku feces. There you go. Have the deed to the mountain. By the way, I don't even notice what I've been doing this whole
You're
time.
a Goron.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've been trading things. With
I've been
all
trading
the-
deeds for these deku flowers.
Oh, to buy the flat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why he goes. He's like.
Yep. And this is why I had to wait until this part of the game, because there's one deku in each of the 4 areas, and I didn't have access to the 4th one. And essentially, they each want the one from before, right?
Yeah.
So, the swamp one wants the deed from the town.
Yeah.
The mountain one wants the deed from the swamp. The Zora one wants the deed from the mountain.
Yeah.
And in a minute, we'll get to the canyon, and he wants the deed from the
Zora.
Yeah. And each one has a heart piece, so that's why I'm doing that right now.
Alright.
So I think I just got a new heart container. It's fucking bad. And I think also I want to go quickly back to town, and I'm just gonna roll. Fuck it, dude.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's just roll.
I'm gonna go back to town and deposit my rupees because I believe I know what the last turkey scrub gives me. Because he doesn't give me a title deed. The prick. The fucking prick. Prick. Prick.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, so I'd recommend watching Glass for the Cookie's Nest if you're looking for interesting things to write about, but it's not exactly like what you're writing about necessarily.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you don't have to read the sort of stuff that you want to write. You just have to read something that's good and understand why it's good.
yeah, it's true. Reading screenplays and stuff.
It's just about understanding how it all works, and then you can kind of recreate something that works just as well.
Did we talk about the Sixth Sense in one of these recording sessions?
No.
Oh. I recommend watching The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
And also Fight Club.
Yeah.
Because if you want the ultimate example of incredibly good, well-handled plot twists, those are your two films. Because they are
I'm not much of a
incredibly
plot
interesting.
twist writer.
That may be the case, but again, we were just talking about how it doesn't matter. You know, it's
Yeah.
just good writing habits.
Yeah.
To be. Oh god.
But really, what I need is just a book on writing good stories and using good examples.
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting because like it sets it up right at the end.
Mm.
These twists, right? And the best thing about the twists is just how they handle it is that you don't think about it like your first time reading it, right? Until it happens. But then when you like read it again or watch it again, whatever, it'll click and you see everything and you're like, oh my god, how did I not see it? And that's why I can tell it's a really good twist because it gives rewatchability, you know?
Mm.
An example of a really bad twist would be the movie Now You See Me, where the twist comes out of nowhere and it's not satisfying and there's no build up for it. I do feel like I talked about this in one of the recording sessions. No. What other movies have you got your eye on? I didn't deposit the rupees. Shit. No, that's 200 rupees down the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
The only time you can get a gold rupee.
I don't know. I'm only a little bit salty about that. I remember to deposit them afterwards though. I was just... Yeah. Look at that empty C button. What a weird sight.
Shit. Well, I've seen Shrek Forever After,
Yes.
which I hadn't seen before.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh. You want me to tell you about it or not?
I mean, sure.
I think
When I think of the films that I like to watch, you know, Kubrick films that we were naming earlier, incredibly well written and well and masterful pieces. Shrek 4 Forever After doesn't exactly spring to mind, weirdly enough.
Well, I don't know if I've seen very many good movies.
Well, you can tell me about Shrek 4 if you think it's a good film. I've just never seen it.
I think that it's because I think that each movie is worse than the previous one. But Shrek 4 is actually probably either as good as Shrek 2, if not better.
Well,
Because
I like Shrek 2.
I think Shrek 4 flows pretty well, and it makes sense, so you don't really feel like you're missing out on anything.
Shrek 2 is fun.
There are some bits where I thought that it hadn't explained it enough.
Right. Shrek, the first film is actually, like I said, it's actually like a really well written film.
Yeah,
People, they meme it a lot because for some reason that film is a meme.
But it's a really good movie.
It isn't actually, like, there's a reason that there's 3 sequels to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's really well written and made altogether, to be honest.
It's interesting when I think about the iconic characters played by Mike Myers.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Shrek,
Yeah.
and then you got Wayne from Wayne's World,
Yeah.
and Austin Powers.
Yes.
Those are awesome characters.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're at 493. Do we get anything at 500?
And they're all very different characters as well.
Yeah, man. He's got a big range.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything in a few years.
He
did like
doesn't have to. You just profit off everything he's done.
Oh, maybe. He did the Love Guru, and that was terrible. And then they just
Maybe he
kinda
didn't
did
have
that.
a big involvement in writing it.
I don't think he had any involvement.
Well, you gotta have.
I don't know how
you
much
gotta have good
writing he
writers.
does in
You gotta
general.
have good writers to have good actors. If the actor can't do all the heavy lifting,
Oh, yeah, and he's good.
the writer's
he
gonna
needs
do it all.
directing is what an actor needs.
Yeah. Well, wasn't the key thing about Shrek's development was that it was a cock up at the start and then they fixed it? Wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. He went through some different development cycles. It was going to be voiced by someone else as well, who died. John Candy, maybe? I don't think. Maybe? I don't remember. Yeah, it was originally going to be like a completely different film at one stage.
And there was a lot more money in it at the start as well.
You know what's really weird about that film? Is that while DreamWorks were working on another film, I think it might have been Spirit, and what they were doing was as punishment for anyone that wasn't pulling their weight in the spirit, they would have to go work on Shrek. And I think that's kind of gone into the whole, like, Shrek is a bad film kind of thing. But, like, I don't know, man. The film's pretty good.
You gotta watch it, and then it's...
Like,
my favourite thing about it is that it flows really well.
yeah, it does.
The
It's
main
very
bits
solid.
the main bits that I find work really well are... so... Shrek's swamp gets taken over by Lord Farquaad.
Yes.
And Lord Farquaad wants Princess Fiona because he's not a king, because he's been told that by the mirror that he randomly found.
He found it because he was getting rid of all
the fairy tale creatures.
Yeah.
He was gathering them all. And that was one of the things that he wanted, was the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the way that flows. And then Shrek's like, I want my swamp back. So he goes to Lord Farquaad. Lord Farquaad's like, alright, you have to go get Princess Fiona.
Yep.
It's just, it works really well. I love it.
Yeah, that's how you do storytelling, man. It's just one thing after the other, and it all connects together.
But Shrek 2 actually falls apart in that regard. And I think it's just because there's so many characters they got to keep track of.
I feel like Shrek 1's the Shrek 2 has a really weak beginning.
It does.
Opinion, where it's just like, we're happily married, and then
yeah.
and then the parents want to see him. It's like, oh, okay. I think it's okay from that point onwards, but
yeah,
it's like,
well,
it's because there's a syndrome in so many movies where it's like, and I call it, we didn't plan a sequel syndrome.
Yeah.
And Shrek is one of those, and so is many other films. Where it's very, very clear that, like, oh, we didn't plan to make a second one of these, but okay. We'll figure it out.
When's the next Mad Max coming out? Because... what's his name? Something Miller.
I don't know.
The guy who wrote and directed the Mad Max movies said that he wrote enough material for another Mad Max movie after Fury Road. So there's got to be another one coming.
It might be in production. I don't know. I don't look at like what's in production. I look at what's coming out soon.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge success, so
Did the timer go off?
I don't know. I'm just kind of fucking around right now.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about movies, so
Yeah, it stopped.
anyway.
Next time on Flim Flams.
I'm gonna go back to Stone Tower and I'm gonna save there, and then when we come back, we'll do Stone Tower Temple.
Okay, bye bye.
Alright.